This is a different video than what I'm used to producing here on YouTube, so I want to give it a go here. But I've been asked by Hiberniason on my input on the question of communications during a grid down scenario and how to simplify it for every ground pounder to do out there. So in this particular scenario, the scenario is not before grid down, which is pretty much what I deal with mainly when there's rule of law and you have to follow the FCC laws and operating laws and all that good stuff. This is after the fact. When society breakdown has taken place, you have yourself a community that you've assembled with your own infrastructure, your own security, which Hiberniason focuses on mainly on his channel, agricultural, food, and all those other disciplines to make a community work. So in this scenario, we're combining two of the disciplines together, security patrols, or in his scenario, a recon patrol, to punch out into the space there to find out what's going on around them. What communications to use, or what sort of protocol should you use out there, and a protocol that everyone could follow in the group, not just your resident experts. I'm assuming that's the what he's asked me to try to answer, which is no easy thing to do, really. I mean, it could get really complex just by the human nature of it, the human element of it all. Hiberniason gives a good resource to use to try to figure out what you should do when it comes to the Comm situation, and that's with the 5-paragraph order, or SMEAC, or what the Marine Corps called it. It's situation, mission, execution, administration, and then communication. But they're all interrelated to each other or dependent of each other to make the whole plan work. On the civilian side of the house, they call that an IAP, an Incident Action Report. And I have an example of one here from a fire a few years ago. And this is the civilian version of a SMEAC report. They called it an Incident Action Plan. So basically, in a nutshell, and it pretty much follows the SMEAC 5-paragraph order, but in civilian terms. So in this case, you have your incident objectives, what what the objectives are to do this particular incident. Medical plan, all the information here needed to execute a medical plan. Here we have an air operations plan, everything you need to do to conduct air ops. Of course, in grid down, you probably won't have that. And then division assignments. And division assignments here closely resembles a sort of patrol sort of SMEAC, because it'll have the operational period here, all the members of your team, control operations, instructions on how to conduct whatever operations you're doing, special instructions, and then way down here in the bottom is what frequencies to use, your command channel, your tactical channel, and then emergency channels like medical and air ops. But more than likely, I guess in a grid down scenario, you'll probably only have 2 frequencies to work with. Your command channel, that's the channel you use to have communication back to your home base, and TAC channels, your inter-squad communications, if you will. And then this is the Incident Command Structure Form 205, which is the Incident Radio Communications Plan. And these are all the frequencies used in that particular incident for that operating period. This could change day by day. But the thing is, you have a plan to use. Everybody will have this incident action report, and they would know what all the frequencies are, what they are meant for, what are your assigned tactical channels, what's your assigned command channels, and so forth. So right off the bat, you already have your sort of structure in place. You have your command channel for, you know, to talk back to your home base, and then your individual tactical channels. So this could represent a security patrol, recon patrol, ag ops operations, medical channel, and so forth. So this is the first, I would say, a first step in sort of try to get a handle of where to start your communications plan. The example that Hiberniason had on his videos about using CBs for comms, for one, it's 40 channels, it's preset, there's nothing to program or change. Channel 1 is channel 1 on every radio out there for the CB. So that's an example that he used in his own experience of what worked with his scenario back in the day in Honduras, and that's fine and dandy. That is perfectly reasonable, but that is not the end all option to use out there. There's many other options to use that is far more superior than a CB. That's just one example. Using a CB in a desert environment or the jungles of Honduras, I'm not sure. It may work there, but it's not going to work in downtown Chicago. That would be more suitable for a UHF radio, ultra high frequency radio. That UHF radio is not suitable in a wooded forest area. VHF, very high frequency, is more suitable for that particular environment. So with your IAP plan, incident action report, or 5-paragraph operations order, just answering the first few paragraphs of that mission statement, situation, mission, execution, could lead you into what sort of band to use to do the communications. Like I said, the CB may not work in downtown Chicago, but it's perfect for downtown Phoenix or in the outskirts of Phoenix, Arizona, if you're in that environment there. As far as simplicity of the radios, in the same example as using the CB channel, the CB radio, although channels 1 through 40 is already preset and it's not changeable at all, so in that case it makes it easier to say, okay, go to CB channel 5, and everybody's on CB channel 5. There's no changing. There's no way that you could change that. Now for today's civilian radios, this is surplus radios here. This particular model here is a VHF radio, and before the grid down and all that other scenario takes place, you should already have this already. You should already have a comm plan. That's what I'm saying, before the grid down ever happens. So this radio here, you could program it, the shit hit the fan frequencies, and I would pick frequencies that's not related to MURS or GMRS or FRS. I would go some other weirdo combination of frequency that's in the grid down scenario, and have it preset to the channel knob here. This channel knob here goes from channel 1 to 14, and just like the CB, I could fill those slots with the frequencies that I want in there and make all the radios the same. So Joe Ground Pounder comes up to me and needs a radio to go out and recon patrol, hand him a radio. The communications plan is to use channel 5 for this area. Turn it on, flip the switch over to channel 5, quick in-camp radio check, and you're off to the races. That is almost identical to using the CB as far as simplicity. The operator, he cannot change the frequency on that channel. The only way he could really mess up is if he bumps the channel knob here, which you could do that on the CB as well. But all this stuff here could be locked out. You could soldier proof this, and that's what I'm saying. You can lock out the keypad here so he can't change anything. You can make this blackout where if you get radio traffic comes in or if you transmit, no lights will be indicated here, no beeps or whistles or nothing like that. The only options you have to use is the channel knob and on and off switch and maybe squelch. That is it. And that is exactly how it's done in the civilian first responder side of the house. You see you have all these firefighters, police officers, EMS, and all those folks there. Radio is not their top priority. They just want to be handed a radio and say, what channel should I be on? Okay, I'm gone, and they're off to the races. Pretty much that's exactly what happens. They're not interested in what the propagation properties are of it, or what sort of range they could get. They just want to make sure they could talk to somebody when they're out there. So the communications plan on this reflects that. This radio is channel 1 through 16, and that's how many channels you got on here. And all they have to do is just look at the comm plan here and say, okay, I'm in division Delta and Papa. I should be in channel 5, NIFC TAC 4 on this frequency here. And that's all they need to know, and that's all they'll use. So that is one way of simplifying your comm plan, is just to have all the ducks in a row beforehand, and then agreed upon the frequency and agree upon what radio to use out there. Your terrain, like this is a wooded area, will determine what radio to use. This may work on CB. I don't have too much experience with CBs, but I know for VHF it works pretty well. UHF, not as much. So your terrain will dictate what radio and what frequency band you're going to use out there as well. But that, like I said, should be all figured out beforehand by the resident experts of your group. You should have at least 1 or 2 persons that know all this stuff, preferably maybe hams or ex-military or whatever, that know the propagation properties of certain bands and frequencies and stuff like that, and they could help make an educated guess of what frequency band to use out in the field. And then before the shit ever happens, practice this and make sure it does work in your operating area here. Now the question about evading the listening capabilities of an opposing force coming in. In his case, there was an armed group of men or whoever coming in, closing into their campsite or going on that location. So right here, this is our ICP. That's Incident Command Structure terminology for Incident Command Post, your base camp. This circle here represents 5 miles of CB range. Just to follow his example, they're using omnis, an omni antenna, just your regular rubber ducky antenna. So they got a range of 5 miles, and they're right here, and they're moving in this location towards base camp. Your recon patrol is on this bluff here overlooking that whole valley, and they see this happening here, this group of armed men. So with the example that he showed, building that dipole antenna in such a way to directionally point to the ICP would look like this. So they're right here, and it's going to shoot down this way, provided that he knows the azimuths of their base camp. So he's in range of the base camp from up there, because when you use a dipole, you get a little bit more gain than what you would use an omni antenna here. And as you can see, they're not overlapping. So the opposing force there, if they're sophisticated enough to listen to all the channels or scan all the CB channels, they're not going to hear these guys giving the base camp a warning that something is headed their way. But if these guys were using an Omni antenna, this here represents the Omni antenna. They're right in the middle there, and they have a little bit of overlap here. That means these guys can listen to what these guys are saying, and they'll get wind of what's going on in around this area here, and what they're facing, or the element of surprise is going to be gone. So that's the example that Hiberniason has reflected in his first few videos there about this subject. That there would be sort of a protocol change. It's not following the communications plan really, but it's kind of more of a, what do you call it, a contingency plan. What happens if I see this group coming this way? How am I going to let my people know what's going on? They figured it out, or Hiberniason figured it out. Use a directional antenna to contact them, so these guys won't get wind of what's going on. So that there is an example of having a solid comm plan on paper, and then to practice that, and then put it into execution after the fact, which is depicted here. It sounds complicated, but Hiberniason has made it simple by identifying the problem, identifying the situation, applying that 5-paragraph operation order. So I don't know if all this has made sense to you guys out there. I hope I made some sort of justice to Hiberniason's series there. But this is a pretty big subject to kind of mull over. But what will make it simple is just to identify your situation, your terrain. There's really no easy way to go around this. I would say that the easiest way to sort of get started on this is to have your comm plan on paper first before buying any gear.